at the company that I'm at. Can you get me recommendations? And I've always been the guy who'll be plugging other people. But then at that particular point, I was like, well, I almost like recommended someone. I was like, well, I wanted to go into commercial pharmacy. Why don't I go and look at it? So without, knowing whether it's gonna get paid or whatever, I was like, you know what, let me just get into it. I got into it, and a month went by, second month went by, third month went by. I mean, it was not a paid role, but somewhere along the line, I got a chance to do a night, not necessarily a night shift, an evening shift in a pharmacy in Nigeria, Ghana. So I'll typically leave Tesano to um what's the name of the place? Shangri-La. And then I'll move from Shangri-La to Adjingano. So Tesano to Shangri-La, 8 to 4. By 5 o'clock, I'm at Adjingano. I do 5 to 10, my evening shift. And then I move from Adjingano all the way to Tesano. I get home by 11, 12, I'm tired, and then the cycle continues. So I did this for 3 months. And in the third month, something interesting happened. I got an offer to interview for another company. And I also had the opportunity to interview with the company that I was working at. The interesting thing was that both interviews happened on the same day. And that day I had to be very sneaky with it. But then I did the interview there, and then I went to do the interview in the other company. I got the job from the other company. My company had not gotten back to me. Typical multinationals would take like 3 months to hire. Non-multinationals would take, shorter times, like 2 weeks, or even 1 month at most. So here I was having an offer in hand from the other company. You're gonna get your car, you're gonna get stuff for same job title and all of that. And probably that was like the very first time I made a huge gamble. And I would say that has also helped me shape my perspective. One thing I learned from my mentor was that I actually reached out because I got to the point where I had to make a decision. I've been given an offer. At the same time, I'm thinking I need to get this job in this multinational company. So I just need to get some news on how I performed in the interview to give me assurance. I reached out to my mentor. He was a country manager at that particular point in time. And he told me that it's one of two things. He can't tell me the outcome of the interviews, but should I leave the offer that I have, should I reject that offer? And then later I discover that my company, MEC, does not hire me. And I feel hurt that I should have taken the other offer. Then that gives me a clarity on where my decision lies. And it was a very interesting perspective, because then if I don't get the MEC offer, but I still feel that pain that I lost the other offer because I rejected it, then that's where my loyalty lies. So I should just go for that. Otherwise, I should risk it. So that was his advice. One of the toughest things that I could do, I was unemployed, doing my evening shift and all of that. But yeah, I took the risk. I was like, sure, why not? At that point, I had to talk to myself that I want to work in a multinational. So let me set that standard for myself now. And I rejected the offer. I told the other guys that, I told them I had been doing internship at MEC. MEC has decided to give me an offer. So I have to decline. They can give the offer to someone else. Now, the next 3 months was very, very gruesome, because then I didn't have an offer in hand. I was not hearing anything, all of that stuff. But eventually it turned out that I was successful for that particular role, and I got hired, and that's how I started MEC. So that moment, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me the fact that people have to make decisions on their own, so they own those decisions. Because if my mentor had said, oh, do this, do that, and then it did not go as planned, the humanistic thing I'll do would be, oh, my mentor advised me to do this, I wouldn't take responsibility. And it taught me that power of responsibility. And I have tried to transfer this to a lot of people. Whenever you come to me and you want to make a decision, all I need to do is to give you clarity on the options that you have and then put the power in your hands. And I think that's a very, very powerful thing that as a human being, you can get the power of choice. You learn hard that way, but also when you get the reap from that, it's really massive and you feel good about it. So there's so many stories, but I mean, this was the one that really started my gambling in my career or my gambling in the corporate space. And there's more that I can talk about in the course of the conversation.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I mean, when I asked for a bold career move, this one was very, very, very bold because it was such
But
a big
wait,
gamble.
I need to add a caveat. I'm very particular about it. The caveat is that I was privileged at that point in time. The privilege came from me volunteering back in school and getting a job offer that got me to save up. And then I was able to use that as cushion. It's very important to always mention this so that someone takes it out of context. They probably need to feed their family, but then they are saying, because Joel rejected a job offer, let me also reject. Please, please
Mhm.
tread with caution.
Cautiously, yes, yes. But this actually brings me right to the next question because what key decisions or habits did you have to, you know, focus on to be able to get to where you are right now? Would you say it was your connections? Would you say it was you doing the internship? Would you say it was the student leadership position that you decided to go for? So, what exactly helped you to get to where you are and pivot your career?
I would say, I mean, it depends on because I've done multiple pivots. At the point, I was a recruiter as well. At the point, I started my business, and at the point, I moved into product management. So, maybe not to talk very much about the specific pivot, but I think my mantra has been personal excellence. Right? I have this mindset that there's no way someone can take your skills away from you. Your competence balanced with your character. There's no way if anybody would rob anything from you at all, there's no way they can rob that of you. It's possible that you can be robbed of it, especially let's say if you work in a toxic environment and then now you lose yourself and you start replicating those toxic behaviors. Right. But then I have always been the guy who would say personal excellence. I need to be better than what I used to be before. Of course, I can see other people who are really great, and I go like, "Oh, I actually want to be like that guy," and I'll do anything possible to get close to you, understand your source, and act mine. I I have no problem asking for help, right? Where I need it, I'm gonna ask. And that whole personal excellence mantra has played a very pivotal role because it helped me build the right character, helped me build the right competence. And when you look at the formula for building trust, I think Steve Covey has that trust metrics. You can read about it, but basically, um, being able to build competence is not enough because if you are extremely good at what you do and you have a very bad attitude, nobody really wants to work with you, no matter how good you are, because everybody's like, "Who's this guy?" On the other hand, if you're the nice guy and you can still get work done, nobody will really want to work with you. Like they would want to get along with you outside professional circles. They will chill with you. So you realize that there are some people that will chill with you and all of that, but then they won't plug you into opportunities. And it's because the competence bit is missing, right? So having the competence and character bit for me made a lot of sense for me because I've been able to build maximum opportunities. I've been able to like sort of extract maximum opportunities out of the relationships that I've built. I've been able to share as well, like contribute to those relationships. And that is what has really helped me right from even when I wanted to transition careers, my ability to build trust with people easily got me to, have access to someone that was a Chilean scholar. We were never friends, but he decided to help me out, organize a mock interview for me with some other Chilean scholars and all of that. And it was just amazing. I also will not downplay my mother's prayers because I believe that there's a huge force that
Okay.
comes with it. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, the bit about when I was quite young, I stayed in the Volta region for 5 years. My parents, they never went to uni, so like this is really like building from scratch. I had to do transfers. I was birthed in Takrade, lived in Aflao, lived in Poglu. Where we were, when I see Doomsday, I'm like, Charlie, I've seen Doomsday before because where we were, there we had a generator, a plant that comes on from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. for the officers to iron their clothes, right? And then from 5 p.m. to 12 midnight. So that was the shift. And when it comes to even getting potable water, how you had to move distances to go and fetch water and all of that. Like all those things are things that I experienced. And some way, somehow, again, these are the privileges. I call them privileges, right? These are the privileges that I believe I got, not because I had financial privileges, but then it helped build some level of character so much that even when I'm working on something, a bit of personal excellence, I do not care, even in the extremest of conditions, I push on. So all these tidbits, personal experiences, being the last born and learning from so many mistakes of my older siblings, and then having my own personality and building trust and competence, I would say have played a very, very key role in like where I am right now in terms of my career acceleration and all of that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. How about Elikem? Would you like to add on?
I mean, I think Joel has said everything. I mean, he already has it very clear. But then I will say that for me, I think the biggest step was being like proactive. There's no other way for me to put it. I was just being very proactive. I was trying to stay ahead of the curve in every way I saw possible. So from medical school, when I finished the degree, I mean, when I left school and everything, I didn't just sit at home and then while away time, I started finding things to do. So I even forgot to mention, I actually had a short internship where I was learning under someone. I mean, they were not paying me anything. I mean, I wasn't getting any money from him. But it was a lot of work. It was like a project management role. And I used that to try and boost up myself. Okay, what do I understand about project management? Okay, we want you to do this task. How do you do it? So in the sense of being proactive, it meant that I was also curious. Like I was finding out things. I was identifying, okay, I don't know how to do this. What is it? Defining it, like just figuring out the basics and asking, like going out to somebody and saying, I don't know. Can you please teach me? But then that was a habit that I didn't want to do too much of because I felt that if you are too dependent on people, like every single task you go to them and you ask them a question, it'll make you look like you are not willing to grow. You are stuck on, oh, you are the one who can teach me. And that was something that really like sets me apart at like Kofa because I would do things before even asking my boss and I'll show him. And what I approached things with was, let me try something out, show it to him to see, and then let him critique that. I don't want to go to him empty-handed and say, oh, I don't know how to do this, teach me. So I use those lessons to build myself up. So it was also being able to find resources, get knowledge wherever I could find it, and then build that. And then I think the final step for me was fighting my introversion. I have been an introvert my whole life. I do not, I mean, even events like this is like things that I don't enjoy doing. Usually I'm forced to do these things because people say, oh, Elikem, you should do it, you'll be good at it. That's the only reason why I find myself in these sports. But I had to also be intentional about that. Because, for example, the role at COPA involved doing research. I did over 60 interviews. I had to have interpersonal relationships with people. I had to be able to communicate with them so that they willingly share their insights so that I could say, okay, and this is the problem, these are the challenges you have. I went to places like Nima to go and do research. I was scared. I thought, oh, I was going to get into a fight. Then you beat me up because I was speaking in a certain way. But no, I also changed my perspective on things. So that helped as well with networking. When I went for certain events or put myself in certain places, I wasn't shy to reach out to somebody that I felt like you'd be interesting. So these are, and in one of those instances, I literally met a client, and that person has been my client since I'll say May of 2023. So these are some of the relationships that I formed that just became very relevant just by putting myself out there. So these are some of the things that played a key role in helping me to accelerate my career a bit. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And I like the fact that I believe Joel wrote curiosity is underrated. That just jumps right into the next question that I have for you, and how important curiosity is in your career success. Would you like
Wait,
to tell us how
was
it
it?
is?
That's going for me.
Yes.
Ah, okay. I didn't know. Curiosity is everything, right? Curiosity is everything. And this year, actually, I dedicated myself to helping people, um, helping people build that trait of curiosity. Thing is, if you don't know something and you don't know that you don't know, it's a very dark place to be in. And that is simplified as low self-awareness. Okay. And it takes a lot of force if you're not privileged to probably have someone on an on the external side of things tell you that these behaviors are something that you have to change. Then you have to fall on curiosity. Okay. So curiosity is what will get you to see something new online and say that, okay, you want to really check it out. Like, what is it really about? Without jumping to go and ask someone, right? Finding information on your own. And for me, I've always had this tiered approach to things in that if I'm curious about something, right now, information is very abundant. So if I'm curious about something, the first thing I'll do is read, have an idea about it, because I would feel some way if I ask someone a question, the person just Googles that same question, and then the first result is the answer to my question, right? I would feel very dumb. And I've held myself up to that standard so much that I chase information. And I always say that the difference between the successful people and then the non-successful people is not because the successful people are overly intelligent. No, it's because they are well informed, right? It's because they are well informed. They have the opportunity to learn things. And for me, that's the mindset and approach that I've used with curiosity. Let me give you a typical example. When I was transitioning into product management, I told myself I wanted to transition into tech. I was really not sure, but I was like, I want to do something that uses data to influence business decisions. So you know what, I'll do data science. But then I read a lot about data science. Well, it looked fascinating. And then I enrolled for a bootcamp. That's curiosity at work. So I enrolled for a bootcamp, try to, learn all the stuff. And I realized that data science was not what I needed, right? I wanted to use data to make decisions, but I didn't want to be crunching models and all of that. I still wanted to be the guy who interacts with people, on a day-to-day basis. So I switched it to something less technical, which is business analytics. And that's what I chose for my master's program. After going through the master's first year in, I was like, I need to start focusing on the role that I want to go into. And that's why I used my curiosity playbook. I was looking at the various career paths that I could do in tech, and I was balancing it against, I want to do something that I don't need to spend a lot of time building a skill on. If I wanted to code, I would spend like 2 years building that entire skill, right? But I needed to do something that I could leverage my domain knowledge, leverage my existing skill set, and maybe add a bit of tweak to it. And that was when I discovered product management. Again, curiosity got me to start reading job descriptions about product management. I'll read job descriptions, I'll read articles. If I read a term in a job description and I don't understand, I'm jumping straight to Google, I'm jumping straight to YouTube. And one interesting thing I discovered was that roadmaps, we say product roadmaps. It was literally just project plans, literally plans. And if I sat somewhere and I told myself that product roadmaps, I don't have that skill, that's literally me robbing myself off because I had run projects in the past, right? So that entire curiosity trait, right, moved from, okay, I don't know this, but let me find more information about it. And by doing all these information finding stuff, I got really armed with what product management is. But remember that there's always that bit about information that is documented and information that is not documented. So in a bit of chasing after curiosity or leveraging your curiosity, all the information you're going to find online is not the exact thing. That's not the ceiling that you can have in terms of learning. There's another layer to it, which is talking to people. Now, the best part with this tiered approach is that now when I engage someone, I tell you literally all the things that I've done to give you the confidence that I'm worth investing in. Okay. You know that there's so many people trying to get your attention. But then there's this guy who is telling you that he's read job descriptions, he's probably read this book, he's done this, he's done that. There's the probability of success, the perception of probability of success, even if my bone cry, even if I'm dumb, right there, you feel like, nah, this guy is grinding. I need to contribute to his success. And that's been the way that I've used to get people to help me the entire time. Now that morphed into a relationship. So I met Charles Wattenberg. He used to work at Netflix as a product leader. He's Ghanaian, by the way, and then he's now working at Square. So no, Block, yeah, Block. So I reached out to him. I could message him and all of that, and he got on a call with me. He became a mentor. That was 2021. Fast forward 2023, when I was trying to get into Pharma as a senior product manager, Charles was the one who reviewed my case study, and his perspective was different because he's a product leader. He's worked at Microsoft, worked at Netflix. All the other perspectives that I had, I was like, there was a stark difference, and that got me the role. That was how I transitioned from not being a product manager, building my own product, to becoming a senior product manager at a company like Pharma, right? As my first official role in my non-business. And for me, I attribute all of this to curiosity. The fact that I am willing to find information. If I hear something new, like there's a discomfort, and I'm also pinching myself not to ask people, but just go that extra mile of just Googling. And it's a trait that you can build easily if you develop that mindset of, I don't want to talk to people first. If I want to ask a question, I want to do a bit of research, then use the content from the research to trap those people to want to help me. And it's almost always works. It's almost always works. So we're in the age of information. That's like a low hanging fruit that you can chance on. And for me, that's how I've leveraged it. So it's basically curiosity, recognizing that you don't know the stuff, information seeking behavior, going ahead to chase the information, not only on the front of reading online and all of that, but also talking to professionals, right? There's non-human sources and human sources. And then after gathering all that information, putting it to use. If I didn't take Charles's advice into account, I don't think I would have been a product manager by now, even before he reviewed my case study. So it is really important to apply these concepts. And I mean, maybe my case study gives you a clear example of how I put it to use practically.
Thank you so much. Yes. Just as you said, right now we are in and find out to meet or research on a job role that you would like to apply for. You definitely have to stay curious and ensure that you are staying ahead of your game. So Elikem, I'll give you our next question. As a recent graduate or as someone who is new into the job market, what are some mistakes that we would make trying to quickly make it, not trying to just go through the process, but trying to fast track the career? What are some mistakes that people end up making?
I think this is from a perspective of what I noticed within my people I went to school with or people I'm in school with. So the university I'm at, they really emphasize soft skills. Soft skills is something that they focus on: self-awareness, self-regulation, time management. Basically learn all these things in your first year and you keep learning them. Now, I had people who didn't take those courses seriously. They felt like this is not relevant to me. This is just some extra work ALU is giving us. So I'm just going to focus on the real work. I'm not going to pay attention to them. I'm not going to learn it. Just chew and pour. I mean, basically trying to do stuff like that. And now they feel like they are competent just with the technical knowledge. And for me, I learned very early on, luckily, that was a huge mistake to make, to ignore the soft skills. And I'll give an example. Like when I was applying when I go into the interview stage with the COFA team, they started asking, I was expecting them to ask me questions that were supposed to be technical on research. And I noticed that they were basically focusing on what my soft skills were. The CEO asked me questions on conflict management. He asked me questions about time management. And these are things that, because I paid attention to, I knew how to reply. Like I knew what to say and I understood those challenges. So I think that is something that a lot of people do not take seriously: soft skills. It's excellent to be technically gifted. It's excellent to know the material, to know the technical requirements. But if you don't know how to collaborate with a team, you do not know how to communicate, you do not know how to share ideas or handle conflict management, that's going to be a real challenge for you. It's going to potentially put you in situations where you're not ready to handle the interactions. It's going to affect your ability to handle relationships properly. It's going to affect your level of productivity. So I would say the best thing with that, in terms of avoiding that, is taking it seriously, taking the soft skills as seriously as you take the technical skills. That is number one for me. I think the second point for me is superficial networking. It's where people only interact with others because they think that I have something to gain from you. And there's a way you can tell that something is superficial. When somebody just wants to speak to you because they want something, you can feel it. Or sometimes you sense it in the interaction. It's always a needing. I need something. I need something. And I'm reaching out because I need a job. That kind of thing. So that's something that I know a lot of people do. Because I know, for example, there are people who have seen me as a student and like, how is Elikem figuring this stuff out? How's he doing this? And they only reach out to me when they're like desperate they want to connect to somebody that I know. And it's like it's a very hungry thing. It's like they're hungry for this. And I understand that. But then if there was an establishment of a rapport, there was communication going on between us where we knew each other well, it would be easier for me to say, okay, I'm putting in a word for this person, or I really understand this person's challenges. I know how to speak on their behalf. But because they keep coming to me with they need this. Even when I'm trying to speak on their behalf, I don't really know what to say because the relationship is not meaningful. So that's something that we have to pay attention to. I approach things with like, look, if I'm going for an event and I know there's certain kind of people coming there and I'm genuinely interested in them, I know what to go to them with. I speak to them, I interact with them, and I'm not even trying to look for something I want. It is just establishing a relationship. And sometimes it doesn't end up with a benefit. That's fine. It's just interacting with these people and getting insights from them. Nothing more than that. For example, I became friends with the president of the MasterCard Foundation on a flight. So she lives in Rwanda. I was heading from Ghana to Rwanda, and I saw her, and I was like, and I really liked her work because I knew a bunch of people who had benefited from the MasterCard program. So I met her, and I was like, hi, I'm Elikem. I went to ALU, I'm at ALU and all that. And we just started talking. I didn't look at her as like, oh, wow, she's in charge of a multi-billion dollar fund. Let me position myself for money. I didn't do any of that. Just establishing a healthy relationship. So that's something, those are the two key things that I feel people don't do well. And they should avoid doing that. Be meaningful, form meaningful relationships, be intentional about soft skills. So That's from me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nana dropped off before because of internet. Joe, do you want to take the same question?
Yeah, maybe the perspective that I would share, and like I agree, like I said in the chat box, it's transnational networking, and that thing does not work. And that's why you always have to play the long game, right? It's always important to play the long game because it is stress-free, it is genuine, and again, that is why the next or the best time to find your next job is when you're in your current job, because you're not in that, position where you want to get things fast. You can build genuine relationship, you can have peace of mind, you can actually give back freely. And you always have to pace yourself that way. What I would want to add in this context is the reality of staying in the moment and then looking ahead. Okay. As young people, I can assure you, if you're working in Ghana, you're starting your career off in Ghana, I can assure you that you most likely go through a state where you are underpaid or you are even unpaid. Okay. And I know there's always this kind of, I've read this takes a lot on Twitter. There's always this takes about, okay, I have a degree, so I need to get a job. I have a degree, so give me the job. And maybe to give you a bit of perspective, some time ago, about, I don't know, before my master's program, I met an old man who was talking to me about how University of Ghana, I attended University of Ghana, by the way, how University of Ghana, when it started, students were wearing robes. So you see the typical Oxford, those who school in Oxford, the Oxford guys, they wear robes. You can Google it and check out. They wear robes to, it's not like a robe, it's like a cloak that you wear on your uniform, and then you take that to class and all of that. That's like a standard uniform that you wear. And that was Legon for you. You would get on board a car and people would actually stand up for you because you are learned. On campus, if you've been to Legon before, you realize that some of the halls have places that they've converted into restaurants. Those were dining halls that they get fed for free. And they had the rooms that are three in a room now in Legon, in the main hall. That used to be a room for one person, right? They had a porch and all of that. Now, when you look at the trend, you realize that from that point, few people were schooling and all of that. So you now have the power because the economics, right? The art of economics, because the supply was low, you now have people ration. So the companies would have come and presented you with 10 offers. And the same thing is happening anyway in those who go to the Harvard and all of that because it is niche. All right. Now, over time, this has changed dramatically. The number of people who are schooling, all of that has changed. And what that means now is that the power is in the hands of the employer, right? And some of them may be misbehave, some of them may be really good with amazing culture and all of that. But one thing I want to point out is that there's always going to be the balance between learning and earning. And if you can afford, make sure you are placing a bet on yourself. Like, be ruthless about your learning. Because I always say that your employer is temporary, but your skills forever live with you. So if you find yourself in a toxic work environment, it is very easy for you to tell yourself, oh, let me quit. But the interesting thing about soft skills is that you can only build them in difficult environments. Nobody tells you that, like, the uncomfortable states help you build the soft skills. If you want to learn public speaking, you need to get comfortable with doing the uncomfortable, talking in front of people, making mistakes. You can never get good at public speaking if you practice in your room and you feel like, okay, I can do public speaking in my head. Same with curiosity, same with resilience, same with adaptability. And I'm not saying that I'm romanticizing toxic work environment, but what I'm saying is how you respond plays a lot of it plays a major role in how you would surmount such not opportunities, such challenges in the future. And then your career grows in those bounds. So whenever you feel like, oh, I need to quit, let me crack there's that time frame where you would work with the company. Give yourself time. You'd eventually leave. Like nowadays, nobody really works for a company for like 10 years, right? Unless it's those in the public sector. Today, people are working 2 years and they are moving, right? And the case here is that those who are capable, those who have the skills, are the ones who move. So always have that mindset that no matter the difficulty, the level of challenges, the pay is not good and all of that, focus ruthlessly on learning and sharpening your skills, because in the next call, in the next interview that you're going to have, all those stories that you're facing now are what you put together as stories. And that's the only way you can fast track your career. So always look ahead and let that inform your current situation. Don't look at just the current situation and make a decision. Otherwise, that'll be myopic.
Thank you. So what I have taken from this is that we should focus on our soft skills. We should also balance learning and earning, which I think really stands out to me, because we like to focus on, oh, I need to make money, I need to make money. But besides the money, what value have you added to yourself to actually stand out in the workplace? So I think this has been extremely helpful. So I'd like to ask as well, what are the top 3 skills that you believe an early career professional should develop, and also how to stand out in a competitive job market? If you could give me some insights on this, Elikem.
Oh, okay. Sorry, your line was breaking a bit, or was it mine?
Yeah. No, she's breaking a bit.
Okay, sure.
Okay, but did you get?
Yeah, I did.
Did you get it? Should I? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I got it.
Great.
Thank you. Top 3 skills. I mean, this is. I've been thinking about what the top 3 skills are. I think this feels like a broad one, but I think one skill to really develop is communication, how you interact with people. And I mean, I call it like a broad one, because within that you have things like emotional intelligence. You have things like being self-aware. You have things like having empathy. I think these are very crucial in the beginning steps of an early career. This one, I don't know if it is really necessary, but I think it's important. I have found that important. And I think negotiation. I think it's very important to learn how to negotiate. And my example with this, I mean, the classical example for me has been salaries. It's been, first of all, I didn't make the mistake of going into my first internship negotiating, because I had nothing. And I wasn't going to risk jeopardizing the job because I'm demanding money that I don't deserve yet, because I don't even have the competencies yet. When I started to develop the competencies and I started to have some respect and get regarded, and I was at a stage where I was getting recommended, like I left Kufa and 2 people reached out to me to offer me a role. It was at that point where, okay, Elikem is doing well. People know that he's developed skills in research and stuff like this. So the negotiation skill comes at a point for me where you know that you have real value, you know what you are doing. Because for my current role, I never accepted the offers they gave me. So I started off as an intern. And I came in with a lot of experience in that field. And it was a bit of a power play for me, in the sense that they admitted to me that I was a bit overqualified for what they wanted me to do at the beginning. But I managed to let them know that, look, I might be overqualified, but then I'm the kind of person who takes tasks by the neck. Like, I do not use the excitedness of the work to decide whether my quality will still be there. And I mentioned that, look, even with the exciting work that I've done before, I have had times where I didn't enjoy it so much, right? There's just a commitment to conducting the work properly, being a high quality, providing high quality products all the time. I am consistent in that sense. So my being overqualified shouldn't be a problem. So it got to salary negotiation stage, and they offered me something, and I asked for more, and I was able to provide why. you should pay me more because I've done certain things in the past. And they agreed to it. And I think they only reduced it by, I think, 10% or so of what I wanted, which was still a huge leap. When they came back to me and reached out that, okay, we want to promote you again to this now part-time role, it came with more money. But I said, no, this is still not enough because right now you're asking me to do more work. You're asking me to take on more responsibilities. So I think I should earn this kind of income. And they aligned with that. So I got what I wanted. I mean, I kind of overshot it a bit, but then I still got, I overshot by like 30%, and then they gave me what I wanted right there. So it was perfect for me. So I think negotiating is really important. And it's not over, and I don't think you should just negotiate because you feel like just the need to do it. You need to have something aligned with the values, or I mean the skill sets that you have that will make negotiating make sense. To have a third point, I don't think I have a third one. I think the communication covered a bit of that in the negotiation. So for communication, empathy, like emotional intelligence, and then negotiation. So I think those are the points that I have.
Yes, and the latter part, how do you stay relevant? How do you stand out in a competitive job market?
Can you please say that again?
And stay relevant.
So then how do you stand out? Yeah, how do you stay relevant in a competitive job market, or how do you stand out?
Okay. So I think for that, it will be, well, I think staying competitive or staying relevant is leveraging on the networks you've built. If you're at a certain point where you've now created very strong relationships with people, I think something that I find relevant is utilizing those well-established networks to stay relevant in the industry for finding opportunities. Because I feel like the challenge with finding jobs is that when you're applying for jobs all the time, it can be a huge task trying to enter a completely new company, completely new field. So being able to build up on your network, being able to interact with people who have indoor knowledge on some of these places to also put in a good word for you, I think is really helpful in staying competitive, where you use like referrals, you use recommendations. And I think that building those relationships will be really crucial in staying competitive. It's like you have now gotten to a stage where you don't need to interview so much. It's easier to get through the door. I think that's a way of staying competitive. Apart from that, yeah, I think that's the one point that I feel is really useful in staying competitive. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you. I'll just move right to Joel.
Okay, there's the question, right? Or also from the top 3 skills.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I think the top 3 skills, based on all the stuff that I've seen, and as in being a coach over the past close to 10 years, and how clueless people have been, like mostly are, especially young people, I'll place my biggest bet on curiosity and lifelong learning. And why I place it on curiosity and lifelong learning is because that's what opens you up to everything. It's like the foundation for everything. If you are curious enough, you can decide to switch careers 10 times, and you can, because you know the information that will get you to switch careers 10 times. Okay. And you have that sense of agency to make sure that that's working. So it's not just being curious, but you're taking action. So the curiosity and lifelong learning is very key, because the only thing that would get you to reinvent yourself, even as you encounter a lot of situations, a lot of challenges. There are lots of people who want to take action today, but because they are just not clear about what they need to do, they don't take that action. And the interesting thing is that clarity that they need is probably one Google search or one LLM search away, like one ChatGPT search away, which is crazy. So for me, it's the fundamentals, right? The perpetual state of being agile and making sure that you are constantly in motion. That is one. The second one is also resilience, but I'll probably put it under resourcefulness, right? So when you think about the concept of resourcefulness, you think about it as you produce results with anything that you are given. Whether you are like the army guys, the guys in the army, they are very resourceful. Like we watch most of these movies where they are down, like these guys are down, but they make use of every little opportunity, right? They've been trained to see opportunity in the slightest ways. And I'll say maybe one of the biggest blessings that I've had has been working in sales for the early part of my career, because sales rewires your brain to think through things differently. And I mean, like in life, everything is literally selling, right? The communication bit is selling, the negotiation bit is selling. Like it all falls under sales skills. But then the resourcefulness bit, right? You learn that as a salesperson. Like you learn to make the most out of the little. You don't, yes, you can complain and all of that, but if that is your reality, you don't complain and fold your arms, knowing very well that your skills are permanent, your employer is temporary. You just get to work with whatever you have, do the bit that you can do, and then move out. So that bit is very important. The resourcefulness bit is very important. And under that, you can have all the adaptability, resilience, and all that. Because if you are resourceful, you would encounter all the challenges that you need to encounter, but you still deliver results. Then the very final one I would say is basic IT literacy, right? So if you are in the zone where you're saying, "Oh, yeah, I don't like computers; it's too complex and all of that," you have to rewire your brain, right? Because now everything is literally a system away, right? It's literally a Google search away, it's literally a chat GPT away. Like, yes, technology advancements may feel overwhelming, but basic IT literacy is you being able to know how to draw a chart in Microsoft Excel. Or even if you can't draw a chart, knowing which LLM you have to go and use, or knowing a tool that you can go and use and put in the digits, and then it does the chart for you. That's where IT literacy is. And you just cannot do these things on pen and paper. So that's like one last one that I'll add. So it's curiosity, resourcefulness, IT literacy. These three things. Now, I think you have a follow-up question on that. On how do you stand out? Yeah, so you stand out by exhibiting all these things. I think we've addressed most of these, right? For me, the character and competence bit. If you're able to learn very well, you're not just the nice guy, but you're the nice guy who knows his stuff. Like everybody will literally love you. People would love to associate with you. People would just want to roll with you because, oh, he knows the stuff, but he's also not arrogant about it. And that bit of things, it just attracts stuff to you. And the more you attract things to yourself, it creates a rippling effect. People just come and give you stuff, whether it's their knowledge, their time, their attention, all of that stuff. It starts from that trust component. Can you show the character? Can you demonstrate the competence? And that's where the juice is. So yeah, I'll say best ways to stand out and get noticed. Those are the best way. Of course, there are other things, building relationships in the organization and all of that. But nobody would build a relationship with you unless they are connected with you by blood, right? If you are not competent or if you have a bad character, nobody would want to have that. Even the people that are connected to by blood, they are very cautious about where they introduce you to because you go and destroy their name. So yeah, that's about the standing out and getting noticed.
Thanks. Thank you so much. I'd like to give our audience an opportunity to ask questions. You may unmute yourself and go ahead with your question, please.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, Edwin.
So
Good evening, Eden.
I've got a question on when is the right time to jump from a job or move on from a job? Yes, when you're in a job, I get it, but when exactly? Is it when you've accumulated a lot of skill, gathered a lot of information, or when you're not so much at the beginning, but you're 1 year, 1.5 year in? Can you still move on when the opportunity arises? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So
Interesting.
we'll take another question from Senna. I saw your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. So I
Good
have a
evening.
follow-up question based on what I think Elikem was saying. He mentioned when he was starting his role, when he was interning under the negotiating as a skill that we should have, he mentioned that he didn't necessarily have the competencies. And I want to find out what exactly should be your benchmark, or what should you use to measure for your competencies in a role that you're working in. Thank you. If that is pretty clear now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Do we have a last question?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Kunsen.
So a lot of things have been said, which I love and I think is very helpful. But I think most of the time when it comes to these kind of things, even when we make like Google searches and all, we see all these kind of points. But one thing I think generally I can say most people struggle with is a roadmap to implementing all these things to be able to see some results in the long run. So maybe some talk about a roadmap may be helpful.
Okay, great. So Mr. Joe and Mr. Elikem, I'm not sure how you like to take this. If there's a question you'd like to take, you can. For instance, if it's Senna's question you'd like to take, you may go ahead. Or if it's Edwin's question you'd like to take, you'd like to.
I personally think Joel is very fit for the first question.
For the
That question was
first.
made for him. The
Okay,
first
so,
question is perfect for him. He's the expert.
Joe,
beg.
please, you get Edwin's question.
So
Yes, so the right time to jump from a job.
yeah, there's no cookie cutter approach, right? It's a couple of things, and I've coached people on this. I've experienced it myself. My previous role, I spent 1 year, 7 months at M-Pharma. I'm probably the PM who lived there the shortest before leaving, right? And normally being able to, first of all, like when you're in an organization, remember what I mentioned, it's learning and earning. You're always looking at the two. Mostly when you do the learning, it's an investment for the next role. So typically if you are taking in more work, if you've gone to read somewhere that you have to build XYZ skill, you don't have that skill, you're taking in more work to build that skill. It's an investment towards the future. It's just like how you invest money in the bank, right? Now, you want to make sure that by the time you are leaving your company, it's a case of there's no challenge at all, right? But when I say there's no challenge at all, it means there's no opportunity to learn. You're doing the same thing over and over again, and then you're getting rusty. Okay, that's one part of it. So you have to be super, super conscious of that particular approach. Then there's the other bit about the earning, and it's highly dependent on your state at any point in time, right? You always want to make sure that you're maximizing your earnings. That doesn't mean that you're job hopping and all of that. But then the core trigger for moving you is a case where the learning has, I mean, you've run out of opportunities to learn, which means that you are now trading your future opportunities, right, for today. Because if you lost out of opportunities to learn and you're doing the regular things on a daily basis, you lose that. I don't know if I should call it steez, but you lose that power, right, which is stemming from your skills and competencies. You lose that because whatever you are doing is like the same old thing. There's no challenge in there. Typically, you would realize that people lose steam from 18 months to 24 months, depending on the organization, right? It's depending on the organization is super toxic, but typically 18 months to 24 months, that's like 1.5 years to 2 years. You realize that there's an opportunity to sort of move ahead. In some organizations, it's even shorter. And the goal is not necessarily to job hop. The goal is to look for a new opportunity that's challenging enough. So if your company is providing that for you, and that's why you have to be very, very ruthless about your self-development. You have to be selfish about it. If your company is doing that for you, then that's amazing. But if your company is not doing that for you, then you have to look elsewhere. Otherwise, you will trade your skills at the benefits of the company. And then you end up be the one losing. So the core thing is, one of the easy ways to gauge it is when you run out of the challenges. Okay. There's also the other bit, the other side of the coin, which is if you need to get more money, then of course you need to maximize your income. And I would say typically recruiters would have a mindset of maybe job hopping if they see you staying in a role for, let's say, less than 2 years, maybe less than 18 months. Some roles could be contract roles, so it depends on how you frame it. But then they may have that perception that this person is like always hopping around. So a safe option is 2 years. And typically what I do is that the first day I enter the company, I set the 2 years timer. The moment I enter the company, I set a 2 years timer and I'm observing, are they giving me the right treatment? Is the culture great? Am I learning? Am I, feeling the challenge and all of that? If I see that board drop a couple of times, that 2 years timer will probably shorten, right? And that's why I keep saying that if you do things in a very, very stress-free way, like I did in my current role, the first time I contacted someone in the company was 9 months before I started the role. Same for M-Pharma. The first time I spoke to the hiring manager was 9 months before I joined the company. And it's very, very stress-free. It's really breezy. It feels like magic. Whilst everyone is looking at, let me apply to multiple jobs, you've targeted this company. You're like, you know what, I'm going to enter here, and you're doing everything possible to get there. So bottom line is look out for the challenge, set that 2-year timer, and observe the company having the right culture. Are they helping you thrive? Are they giving you enough challenges and all of that? If they fall short in any of these, which would compromise your skill set for the future, then you know how to advise yourself. It's possible to do it because I've lived that. I've coached people to do that as well.
Yeah, okay. I think that was very insightful. So Elikem, you will take standard question on negotiation and what the benchmark should be.
So I'm a bit unsure of what she means by benchmark. Okay, so first of all, I don't know if she misheard me, but then I think she said something to the point that I didn't have competency, but then I was able to negotiate. Is that what she asked? Like, I didn't have the competency and then I negotiated. So
Okay,
yes, Senna,
Senna,
please speak.
yes, she will clarify.
Yes,
All right,
Senna,
so
mhm.
I was trying to give a fall down of where I picked that information from. So in the beginning, you mentioned that it wasn't something you had in the beginning and didn't want to risk it in terms of
Yeah.
negotiating. But later on, it was something that you had built. So my question is around what should I when I Okay, let me rephrase. So what I'm trying to ask is that if I want to be able to bring that competency on the negotiating table, if I say I have the competencies, what should be my benchmark towards building all of that to bring to the table that, oh, actually have the competence to do this, and this, and this.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
hoping that that's clear now.
Yeah, I get it now. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
I think the baseline for stuff like that, for the negotiation stage, is being able to quantify the work you've done, being able to show that you've done a certain job, you got a certain result, and being able to show that over time. So if you stayed in a role for, let's say, 6 months, 8 months, and you've done a certain number of projects which are, let's say, research focused. So let's say I've done 60 interviews. I helped to increase the price point for a product by 25% over a certain amount of time. I've been able to grow this part of the business by X percentage. So the step that you have to be able to negotiate is that you have evidence of the things you've achieved and you've done it for a certain amount of time. So there has to be evidence that there's been some growth. You have to show it in terms of the kind of work you've done, the kind of tasks you've taken on, the kind of skills you built up during that time. So you look at where you started from and where you've ended up at. So you're now realizing that, okay, I have these skill sets. So then and if you get into, so I'll even say that sometimes you might end up in a situation where what you've done over a certain amount of time might not be relevant to what you are going for, but you've still worked over a certain period of time. You've learned some basic skill sets. I think that should still be enough to be able to negotiate upwards. And another thing for negotiation is I'm not a fan of really telling people how much I've made before, especially if it is right after a Ghanaian company. In my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of that. Right now, I'm happy to do it because I've worked for like a European organization. So it's easier for me to say that, oh, I've earned this much before, because now it is a competitive salary, you know. But for Ghanaian salaries, I'm not a fan of that kind of negotiation. That one, I want to go in there and know what they are willing to offer. I never say this is the range I want. I ask them what do they have to offer first of all. I always try and push them to tell me what they want to give so that I can now understand. And I usually ask beyond that, especially from the point where I had gotten, let's say, give or take a year of experience. So for me, it was about a year of experience before I started negotiating in that sense. And also the quality of projects I did. So I'll give an example. So recently, in last year, I was recommended by a leading consultancy firm and somebody I had done work with to work on a project with the government. So they asked me to analyze national frameworks in that sector, do a comparative analysis within Africa, and then develop a policy review. So there was a policy review which was basically going to the highest office of the land. It was basically going to like the heads of state. So after doing something like that, especially so I finished a project, it was the first time I was doing it, but because of the research work I had done before and the quality of work I had done, they felt like they could give me something like that to do. I did it for the first time. I did it well. And that immediately made me more expensive in terms of people coming to me and asking for stuff to do. Like if they wanted me to do research, I started charging more because if I've been able to produce quality of work, the impact I have had, even if I've had only 2 years of experience or a year of experience, has been great. So that is how I approach the negotiation. It should be measurable stuff. The quality of what you've done should be great. And to some extent, the timelines of how long you worked in a certain space. And also, if you're able to prove that you've built up in skill sets, soft skills, hard skills. So I hope that that is a good answer. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Senna,
Yes, I think.
are you satisfied?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great, great. So yes, we have one last question. That is the roadmap to implementing all that we have talked about today. Who would like to start with us on that?
I
I
think I
think
wanted
Joel
to
had.
share a comment on that. Yeah, I wanted to share a comment as an add-on to what Elikem shared. So, if you are looking at things from an organizational context, as well, let's say you are not a new employee, but you are in the company, you want to maximize your income. One of the things that you need to find out is who, um, not even who, that the organization have a performance rubric. So it's a document that defines what competencies and skills that you should be exhibiting at any stage, any band within the company. Unfortunately, most Ghanaian companies do not have that. So you realize that promotion cycles are very haphazard. There's nothing really guiding it. It just depends on how long you've been there, right? But then one of the things that you should be using to evaluate very well a company is understanding whether they have a clear criteria for promoting people. And within the organization, you can ask for that performance rubric and then look at where you are against where you're supposed to go. And then ask yourself, are you even worth that money that you want to, ask for? That's the very first part in terms of benchmark. The second place to benchmark is your manager, right? In as much as all this could happen, your manager could have certain person priority. You have to get your manager to like you, and even people beyond your manager to like you, because most of those conversations will happen in rooms that you are not going to be in there. So when you come to my company, my current company like this, one way that I've been doing that is I'm not a recruiter, but I've been a recruiter before. And so far, I've recommended like 2 talents that have been hired by the company. And I'm looking forward to recommend them more. The more you recommend talent that are high quality, you reduce the workload for the recruitment team. The recruiter will tell his boss that, hey, this guy has been helping us get this information across, like to his networks and all of that, and they're recruiting. And my organization is small, so I can easily tell the CEO that, oh, I actually recommended this person, recommended that person. That's a way to build visibility, right? That you care about the business all around. It's not like you're just in your pigeonhole and that's it. So beyond getting your manager to like you, building the right relationship with your manager, you are also doing all these things on the side to ensure that you are getting recognized for the work that you do. So if your name pops up in a room, it's like, oh, Joel is an amazing person, blah, blah. Then the next thing is, oh, he's actually been helping us working on recruitment. Oh, he's actually been doing this. Your name, like, everybody has a good review for you. And that sort of helps you to elevate within the company. But the sad truth is that you are more likely to earn more when you job hop than you take a salary bump in your company. So that's just like food for thought on that front. The other thing is the roadmap, which I'll sort of just wrap up with, and maybe Elikem could add to that. I would say typically, like I mentioned, curiosity. Now the bar for learning is so low. What is it? The barrier to learning is very, very low. If I wanted a roadmap today and I had to describe my problem clearly on ChatGPT, if I don't have a mentor, that's a place I can start from. And there's literally no way to give a roadmap on different topics. Like it's so infinite that I'll rather want you to build the power on how to find information and how to put yourself in experimentation mode rather than give you a template. So when people come to me and they want template answers, what I normally would tell them that is that, yeah, you can do X, Y, Z, but then there's so many variables and it really boils down to the personality, it boils down to your environment, it boils down to your upbringing and all of that. But when you get a fundamental, you're able to self-navigate, you're able to find the information for yourself, you're able to probably do all your Google research, come and feed it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to develop a roadmap for you. It's going to develop a roadmap for you. At that point, that attitude of being an executor, being biased for experimentation has to be there. If you don't have that, you won't go anywhere, right? And that helps you move beyond that, because I may give you a roadmap. That roadmap may not work for you, but what do you do after it doesn't work? Would you have the attitude to go and do more research and tweak it? Or then you go like, okay, I got this help from this person. His roadmap did not work, so I'm going to find another person to give me another roadmap. And that's the level of independence that I believe that young people, young Africans for that matter, need to develop if you really want to compete on a global scale. That's really it from my end. So over to you, Elikem.
I think you gave an answer way better than I could have given. So I think we'll go along with that. Yeah, thank you.
I want to hear your answer. I want to hear your
Alright.
answer.
So you still want to hear my answers,
Okay.
Charlie? Okay.
Yes. Hey,
I'll
we are
be-
curious. We are practicing it.
Exactly. Yes.
We are practicing it.
Yeah. I mean, a roadmap is it's something that I was thinking about. Okay, what will the roadmap look like? I am not sure of a fixed way of getting to a certain point. Let me just look at. So when he asked for a roadmap, was he referring generally to was it just finding information? Was it just a roadmap to accessing information?
I think
No,
Obi
not
Consent can give more
accessing
context.
Sorry.
yeah, not necessarily accessing information. I mean, yeah, it's there that AI is helpful, it's there that Google is helpful, and for the most part, I think most of us access it anyway. It's more like he said, there's not a one size fits all. So what works for one person won't work for another person. But I think there's a saying, follow who know road. So based off those who have actually figured out how it works and have experimented with different things, hearing from them and them giving you a general idea or a possible roadmap helps to cut out a lot of the time wasted. It's not a guarantee that that thing will work, because I believe a spectrum of things have to work together for you to achieve a result. So sometimes what worked for them, you will try it, and because maybe the timing for it doesn't fall in line, it won't work for you, because those opportunities that were open at the time they got the job they wanted may no longer be there. Like early 2020, 2021, if you learned coding on your own, it would have been easier to get an entry-level job. So if you ask somebody that did that and got into software engineering, if they give you that roadmap, it may not necessarily work now, because not as many entry-level developers are being taken now. Things have changed. But the whole idea is, if you were also to talk to somebody that has done it and it has worked, if you do follow their roadmap, you are most likely to be closer to success. That if you get to a point where things are not working, you can then tweak one or two and then still be successful, than when you literally say, okay, let me follow what AI is saying. Because for me, I have tried that. And I've tried it in multiple ways, and for some reason it didn't necessarily work. But then I once talked to a friend and he gave me some insight on how he did it. What he didn't necessarily work for me directly, but with a little tweak, it helped me get my first internship. And that is one point. But then I'm looking at it from a bigger picture, that okay, so if we want to move from where I am now to the next point, and as much as I'm still trying different things, it may be helpful to get some insight from others that have done it and done it well. And that could help. That's why I'm asking for a roadmap. And maybe it could be helpful to someone else here. But for me, this one is for me, because Charlie, I'm fighting for my life right now.
Yeah, I appreciate the insights you've given. That was a very good point. I'm not sure that as you said, I'm not sure that I would say this is what will work. But then for me, a roadmap that I used, I think the basic part of it was planning and structuring what I wanted to do. So it was like creating a goal. And I use something like the SMART goal, which is like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant. What's the other point? Is it time? Yeah, those points. So I use that in terms of the goal setting that I did. And it was like being realistic. It was, for me, it was trying to be realistic. I know it's beautiful to shoot for the stars and everything, but then also trying to stay realistic and grounded in reality of what I can do and what I can't do. Because there's a circle, you have your circle of control. There are certain things that you can do, things that are within your control that you have authority over. But beyond that, you don't have much going for you. And I would use that to set up my goals. And after that point, the next step after a couple of months, let's say I was supposed to have a timeline to achieve certain things, was then self-evaluation. So that is basically doing a monitoring and evaluation review on yourself, questioning yourself on whether you have achieved certain things. So I didn't use like a very specific path, but it was more of just knowing what I want to achieve and keeping myself accountable to myself on these key things that I want to do. So that is my, in a sense, a roadmap. I don't know if it's very helpful, but it's what I use. It's how I approach things, how I approach challenges, evaluating the plans I have, and then using the evaluation to improve it. See what I have experienced about the time frame and say, okay, this is what I needed to improve. So it becomes a very adjustable process. So if, for example, you did cold reach out to people and it didn't work, maybe you could look at, okay, was the framing of my messaging bad? Did I not interact with them properly, or did I not speak to certain things that are relevant? Is there something that I could look at to help me improve my communication? Then you use those tools. And the thing is very structured in terms of like the planning phase of those things. It's very structured for me. So yeah, those are my viewpoints. And let me see what
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, man, I wanted to add to the, like, it comes down to the set of habits and behaviors, right? Like he rightly said, he probably has not labeled it as curiosity, but you reached out to your friend. You started from a point, you searched on AI, all of that stuff. You tried it, not work. You reached out to your friend. That's you moving from a non-human source to a human source of information. You took that information, you came back, you had to experiment. It's always a cycle of you are getting access to some form of information and whatnot, and then you are experimenting. And based on the source of the information, it can be a quality source or it can be a bogus source, right? And that's why mentorships and all of that come to play. But when you look at the fundamental of things, when you really look at it from first principles thinking, you'd realize that it's always a case of I need to get some information on something and I need to take action with it. If you don't take action with it, you never get to know whether it works well or not. And one way to sort of maybe achieve a faster success rate is by making sure that when you get the chance to talk to people, you always talk to people that mirror your situation. So if you're an immigrant, right? If you're an immigrant in another country, you don't go talking to a white guy necessarily to replicate his playbook. You are more likely to get success from another immigrant who is in the role that you are trying to target, and you are getting all the juice from that guy, and you are going to experiment anyway. If you fail at it, you have to go ahead and try again, and also gather more information. So it's always a cycle of information experimentation. For me, that's what has helped me. I literally did recruitment. I went into commercial pharmacy. I'm into product management. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur, but I found myself in it. And I'm just literally following the information. The moment I come across something, I'm like, nah, this thing, I need to find more about it. I need to talk to someone who has done the thing and it's alongside, or it's like along the way of where I want to go. And that way I can follow that mirrored path and increase my chances of success. But even that, it is never guaranteed. So information experimentation cycle, that cycle can, I mean, curiosity, information, experimentation cycle would get you to where you really want to go. I would say that's probably the best roadmap, general purpose roadmap that I can give. The same thing applies to job hunting and all of that. And Kobe, I hope that kind of works.
Yeah, well, it's a start. I'm still looking forward to talking to you back door. So yeah.
Sure, you can reach out. You can reach out. You can reach out.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, you are.
Okay. Thank you. So we have gone beyond our stipulated time.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to say a very big thank you to Joel and Elikem for joining us today and sharing all these brilliant insights for us and helping us just navigate our way in the professional space. I'm really, really grateful. FORMICA is extremely grateful. And on behalf of everyone here, thank you. And also to everyone who joined today's session, big thank you. We are very grateful. And we'll be sharing the recording via your emails so that you can access it. And also for the next career chat, please tell a friend to join. Learn something different. You have learned something that you're going to up once you're, for instance, looking for your next job or trying to just level up in your current career. I'm sure there's something that today you have hit that you're going to work with. So let's just continue sharing what we have learned. And Elikem is actually a mentor on our FORMICA website, that formica.agency/mentorship. So if you're looking for some mentorship, you can definitely check it out. There are different mentors there who can help you, and you can definitely also reach out to Elikem there. And Joel would also share his email with us, I hope, so that we can reach out to him.
Send my Twitter because it's very easy
Twitter.
for you to get me
All
on
right,
Twitter
Twitter.
than email. Yeah.
The CV man.
Okay, so yes.
Is it?
And
You're
yes,
the CV man.
if you don't know,
You're the CV guy. Anyway, yes. I guess it was really great interacting. I think this is sorry. Siawaah,
the connection is bad, eh?
this is a challenge.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to say it's been really awesome being here. I mean, as somebody who's about to be a recent graduate, and I think because of my relationship with Anthony, he knows what I've been through. He felt I could share some useful things. I hope that has been the case. I'm not used to this. And I mean, I also accept feedback. So if you feel there's something I could improve, I mean, I'm a mentor, but I take feedback. I'm also learning. So it's very important that if you feel that there are certain things you'd like to share with me as well, very open to that. So thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I'm also thankful to Joel for coming here. I've been taking notes. Even I am learning from him as well. He's the expert here. He's the guy. So there are lots
I
of
beg.
I beg. It's true. It's very true. You're the expert.
I picked up a lot from you too as well. Yeah, it's been an amazing conversation, to be honest, and I hope we get to repeat this sometime later as well. Please feel free to reach out on Twitter and all of that. I'll make time to respond to messages. It's very chaotic on my end, but yes, even if I don't respond immediately, know that the answer will come. Will definitely come. So yeah, thanks so much, Siawaah. Thanks, Elikem, and thanks, Ant, for having us. And I don't joke with the feedback. So if you have a feedback form that you send to the team, please send to them, and then we would want to see how best we can improve. Again, that's curiosity at work. We want to really know how we deliver so that we can improve that for subsequent sessions.
Thank you both for joining. I'm extremely grateful. I've already started seeing some positive feedback coming in. I'm happy to share once we get all of them coming. So yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks a lot.
Right.
I don't know if Nana can hear us. If you can hear us, that I have closed us off. Thank you.
Bye. Nice weekend, everyone.
Bye. Have a good weekend.